I always thought it was weird how Hasbro made a Red Skull figure for the first Captain America movie, but it clearly wasn't the movie version even if it came with the Tesseract. There was also a Marvel Select figure, this time way more movie influenced, but I have no idea what happened to the head since it barely even looks like a skull at all. Now, the only figure that actually looks like Red Skull is the Hot Toys figure. Now, fortunately, the amazing people at CastingCave came to the rescue and made a cast of a shrunk down Hot Toys head. It's a perfect piece of work that looks exactly like the Hot Toys head. Unfortunately, there was one specific thing I didn't like about it, and that is the snarling expression. Like I've said before, I'm not a fan of specific expressions and preferably limit myself to smiling, stern, grinning and smirking expressions, so I resculpted his mouth closed. So, I want to base coat this with red spray paint. I use car paints because they're super durable, but for some reason homemade head casts usually don't take paint very well. This is where primer comes in, so the use for primer is to make paint stick to something easier. Don't ask me why the primer sticks on the surface in the first place, but it does. It also hides the difference between the sculpted surface and the plastic, which is super noticeable if you just paint over it. Since the clay is black and the head is white, it's also going to take more layers of paint to cover, so the paint job is going to look like crap without primer. Now I'm giving him a pretty heavy wash coat of Mephiston Red to fill in spots the spray paint didn't reach. Since it's spray paint meant for cars, I don't want to put on too much because it's going to start clogging up quickly and ruin some detail. Next up, I'm giving him a wash with a darker red. This is to darken certain areas and create shadows like around his eyes, his brow and his cheeks. A wash is pretty much just paint mixed with water so it will run into crevices and whatnot. Now when the wash has dried, it has drastically darkened the red, so it's time to brighten it up again with some brighter red, and this time we're gonna do it with another technique called dry brushing. Dry brushing is when you put some paint on your brush, then wipe it off until there's barely any left, and then you sort of just dust the paint on. The paint will catch the raised areas and leave the crevices, and thus it creates depth. After that, I'm just brushing on a slightly lighter red. I'm gradually building up tone variations. Now, I'm doing the eyes off camera because it's way too hard to paint tiny things like eyes if I don't have the head right up to my eye, but I start by filling in the eyes with white. Then I paint a black circle in each eye, then I dot in the color of the iris, in this case it's blue, and finally I put in an even smaller dot of black inside of blue. I know the blue is barely visible now, but trust me, it looks incredibly off if the eye is just a black dot. The ever so subtle variation of blue really helps, the human eye is incredible with details. And there we have it! Now I gotta find him a buddy.
Cut off one head, two more shall take its place. Hail Hydra.